Good evening, everybody. The time is now 7 p.m. I will call the September 23rd, 2020 regular meeting of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being televised live online via Go Live, via youtube.com, www.millcreektownship/meetings, and recorded by WQLN for viewing on Spectrum Channel 1024 and youtube.com with closed captioning. Members of the public may attend in person in the General Assembly Room. However, total occupancy is limited to 25 persons and masks are required. For future meetings, persons who wish to offer testimony at any hearing or to offer comments during the public comment portion of the meeting, but who do not wish to attend in person, must contact the Township Secretary, Cheryl Williams, at 814-833-1111 or email swilliams@millcreektownship.com no later than 24 hours before the scheduled meeting to make arrangements to participate via telephone. The next public meeting is Tuesday, October 13th at 9:30 a.m. Next, we'll take public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. Is there anybody present that would like to make any comment on agenda items? Okay, hearing none, move on to approval of the minutes from our September 8th, 2020 meeting. Any questions or comments on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Dan. Do I hear a second on that?
Mr. Chairman, I was absent from the last meeting. Mr.
Oh,
Shaw,
you
am I permitted to vote on this action, or should I abstain?
I think you're able to vote on it.
Okay, I will second.
Okay. Mr. Owlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next is approval of the bills. We have a batch of bills to pay. Any questions or comments on the bills?
I'll make a motion to pay.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Mr. Owlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And next, we have a public hearing on, looks like 2 subdivision plans. First one, John M. and Tamara J. Hall, a small subdivision plan to show the creation of Parcel A, a .246 acre parcel that has become an integral part of tax parcel 33146-466-47, resulting in a .643 acre parcel of land and a residue parcel of .428 acres, located along the west line of Niemeyer Road, north of Dumar Road, in Tract 343, Index 829-011. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Good evening. At their meeting of September 1st, 2020, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of this subdivision with the following drawing change to add the dimensions of the existing structures and a requirement that Parcel A is to become an integral part of Erie County Tax Parcel 33-146-466-47. Since the Planning Commission meeting, the Hall's surveyor has come to the office and corrected the Mylar, so that condition has been satisfied. So the only requirement then would be that Parcel A become an integral part.
Mr. Waldinger, are there any questions or comments at the Planning Commission besides that you've addressed?
No, nothing significant, and nobody appeared in opposition.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve this small subdivision plan?
Chairman, call for comments in case somebody's here to speak for or against, please.
Okay. Is there anybody present who would like to speak on this small subdivision plan?
I'm here to represent, but I'm
Okay, sir. Since you're here, you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name's Michael Leidick. It's 5420 Niemeyer Road. My property is the one that's becoming part of, the parcel A is becoming part of the property we already own.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Any questions for him? Pretty
No.
standard stuff. Okay, anyone else here to speak on this issue? Okay. If not, I will ask for a motion to, on this small subdivision plan.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Owlett,
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes as well. Next up, the small subdivision plan, Alfonso A. Narducci. Small subdivision plan to show the consolidation of .200 acre parcel, tax parcel 33121-665-37.02 to become an integral part of tax parcel 33121-665-40, resulting in a .929 acre parcel located north of West 51st Street, west of West Street in tract 348, index 718-030. Matt?
Thank you. At their meeting of September 1st, 2020, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of the subdivision with the following. Drawing correction needed to be made in order to add dimensions of the existing structures to the drawing, and the requirement that Erie County Tax Parcel 33-121-665-37.02 become an integral part of Erie County Tax Parcel 33-121-665-40. Both of those conditions I would recommend, as the drawing has still not been corrected.
Thank you. Is there anybody present to speak on this small subdivision plan? Okay. Is there a motion to approve this plan?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve with the conditions as stated by Mr. Waldinger.
I'll second.
Mr. Owlett,
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan,
I vote yes.
and I vote yes. Next up, we have exclusion from land development requests. First one is 2650 West 26th Street, Bonnell Collision. Matt?
Yes, thank you. This is just a report to the board and the public that land development exclusion was granted for a project at the location you mentioned. The owner received a zoning permit to build a 288 square foot accessory structure, a shed, on that property. It did meet the criteria to be excluded from land development as called for in Township Code Section 12547A. It did not violate any provisions of the zoning ordinance as presented, and the permit was issued.
Okay, Matt, so that's nothing we have to take any further action on.
No,
at this
that's
time.
just a report to the board.
Okay, we have another one at 2549 West 8th Street, the Montessori Regional Charter School.
Yes, this is very similar, although this was the construction of an 800 square foot structure, a pavilion over an existing concrete pad. Again, it met the criteria to be excluded from land development according to Section 125-47A. It did not violate any provisions of the zoning ordinance, and the permit was approved.
Mr. Waldinger, do either of these impact stormwater management on either property?
They did have to, well, I should say the first one, the shed was small enough that it does not trigger, but it was already being placed over existing asphalt, so there was no impact. The second one was reviewed for stormwater, but also because it's covering existing impervious, it did not trigger any additional stormwater.
So these new structures are going to be documented in the event that These are going to be documented towards their totals in the event that future development happens on sites.
It did not change their calculation because it was on a existing impervious, so it was already recorded as impervious.
On both sites.
Yes.
Okay. Bids and quotations. Grinder purchase for Millfair Compost Center. Mr. Olet.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Request from Jessica Stutzman from our recycling department to purchase a new grinder for the Millfair Compost Center. The recommendation is to purchase the Beast Bandit Model 3680 XP, sold by Stevenson Equipment Incorporated. The cost of this piece of equipment is $564,745.80. This will be under CoStar's ID, the Bandit parent number 4400020042, and the Stevenson Equipment contract number is 4400020077. Much of this purchase is funded, looks like all the purchase will be funded through a grant.
Was this the same machine that the company that gave the quote before was not CoStar's approved?
Right.
Wasn't this the same?
This is a different manufacturer altogether.
But the same piece of it?
Right, it does the same,
It replaces that?
That's correct.
Request, okay.
right. I'll make that request in the form of a motion.
Mr. Chairman, quick question. Mrs. Ikshesky, and I see the DEP grants are, we don't have all the funds in hand. Is this something where we'll be paying with it with the general fund and being reimbursed by DEP? Or is the purchase going to be, are they going to take installment payments from us?
Actually, we're using the borrowing that is up for consideration this evening, so that's the RFP right now. Now, we're going to use sinking fund money, we're going to borrow we have $189,000 from the 2018 Section 902 grant from the DEP. That's going to be used for the down payment on the piece of equipment. The next round, the next round of grant money, the 2022 fund, is $350,000. That'll be awarded. So we have the grant. We'll turn the money, the grant requested in 2022 to $350,000, pay the loan down, and then final round of grant funding to pay off the balance before reimbursed the general fund is paid off.
Sorry, Mark, I didn't quite follow you. So is it general fund, or is it we're getting a loan to cover it in the meantime?
It is using a loan to cover about, about $382,000.
Sorry to put you on the spot, just the director of the department isn't here, so I thought you might know.
It's about $382,000 worth of money that we're going to be borrowing for it, because we already have the grant money for the first piece, the $189,000, which will go down as a down payment.
I believe there's an RFP that's currently pending that'll find, for the financing of that.
And initially, I did check with the Redevelopment Authority's revolving loan fund. The reason for the RFP is their interest rate came in a bit high, and so I want to see what the banks will offer for the same terms.
Okay. I'll second Mr. Olet's motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Olet, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Fence for Chestnut Hill Retention Basin. Mr. Snyder.
Good evening, gentlemen. We are seeking permission to have the Erie Fence Company install 400 feet of 5-foot-high chain link fence, and a 15-foot gate around the east side of the Chestnut Hill retention basin at the cost of $9,190. The current fence location does not give the township adequate room to keep that basin clean. It's right on top of the head wall, and there's no way to get at it to keep that clean. There are monies in the Streets Department maintenance and repair budget to cover the cost of this item. So it would be my recommendation to have area and fence install the 400-foot, 5-foot high fencing and one gate at the retention basin at the cost of $9,190.
How have we been cleaning it this whole time?
Actually, it hasn't been.
Since its construction?
It was cleaned out once since construction, but we had to, at that time, rent a big excavator to lift the machine over and set it down in the basin itself. It's a concrete channel. So this would just give us access to do a safer cleaning and being able to get in there whenever we needed to.
Do we need, do we have an easement wide enough for that, or do we, I'm just curious, is now school district property, or is it?
It is. We received permission from the school district. We met over there with the acting superintendent at that time.
Okay.
And he had no problem with it. It doesn't encroach on their fields or anything.
There were two, excuse me if you already said this, Gary, I didn't hear you say how many quotes there were.
I'm sorry, I did not. We did have a quote from Keystone Fence.
And Gary, this is coming out of an operating budget line or a capital budget line?
Operating budget. Keystone Fence, their bid was $9,500.
Okay, any other questions, comments from the board on this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Owlett,
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
How about yes?
I vote yes. Change order number 1, Millcreek Township Sidewalk Accessibility Project, Phase 8, Plan and Development Department. Mr. Walden.
Thank you. Yes, as you mentioned, this is for the Sidewalk Accessibility Project Phase 8. As you know, we have an ongoing consent decree to make handicapped accessible ramps wherever we do improvements. This year, we awarded a contract to Amendola Construction at the June 9th, 2020 Supervisors meeting. That was to use our Community Development Block Grant funding to pay for those ramps. At the time, the contract was in the amount of $244,849. There was a surplus of Community Development Block Grant funds left over after these ramps were installed. So Township Engineer Ann Sokol arranged to have 8 additional ramps done to exhaust the CDBG money for 2020. So this change order would be in the amount of $12,800 to add 8 more accessible curb ramps to this year's contract, bringing the contract with Amendola to a new total of $257,649.
Thank you. Any questions?
Matt, I'm not really following the math here. Says here 6,000, 15,000 was spent, so only leaves 9,000,
That-
but change order for 12,800.
That was not, that amount is not the CDBG funds. That was a fund that the township has in its capital budget, my department, I should say, has in its capital budget to cover any overages. Annie was just mentioning that that money was also a small part of this. But we used the balance of the CDBG funds and then covered with the
So
9,000.
this entire 12,800 is still CDBG.
I believe there is a small portion of that was, it didn't end up at exactly the CDBG amount. So the small portion that was not, was covered with the remaining 9,000 from that fund.
All right, I'm going to take an opportunity to remind the directors present that I think the past 4 meetings, the board has asked that there be detailed budget information on capital budget requests, including line items of where funds are coming from, the expense of items, any money that's going to reserves, or additional funds requested. And none of the requests I've seen so far have these included, so I don't know why that's not happening, but the next meeting, I expect to see it. Or I'm going to start voting no to things if I don't have full budget information in front of me when it comes before this board. I don't know how you gentlemen feel, but it's frustrating to me.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $12,800 for this sidewalk project?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Olet,
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan,
I vote yes.
and I vote yes. Lighting for police garage. Mr. Snyder.
We're seeking permission to purchase 22 light fixtures and bulbs for the police department garage from Height Electric Company. The purchase will be made under the state purchasing contract number 44000189985 at a cost of $2,915. This purchase would be in line with past purchases to upgrade the lighting at the township and for saving energy costs. There are monies in the Buildings and Grounds Maintenance operating budget to cover this cost. These fixtures will be installed by the electrical department on days when outside work can't be done. So it would be my recommendation to purchase the fixtures and bulbs from Height Electric for the cost of $2,915.
Thank you. Any questions on this? I'll hear a motion to approve the lighting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Olet,
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan,
I vote yes.
and I vote yes. Next up, we have a radio antenna relocation. Gary?
Yes, here again, we're seeking permission to have the Streets Department radio antenna moved from the tower at Lancaster Road to the Erie Golf Course Pump House. The tower on Lancaster is in disrepair to the point where it cannot be climbed on. It sits on the school district property, and they would like to have it removed because of a fall hazard. The Streets Department is the only antenna left on the tower. The sewer antenna was moved off this location several years ago and to the location at the Erie Golf Course and seems to be working fine. Topographically, the pump house at the Erie Golf Course is actually higher than the top of the water tank. This work would be done by Freedom Communications for the cost of $5,020.27. And there are monies in the Streets Department maintenance and repair operating budget to cover the cost of this move. So it would be my recommendation to have Freedom Communications move that antenna for $5,020.27.
Okay, so did we talk about this tower before?
A couple of years ago.
Is this the tower that's currently, it's not on the water?
It is not. For some reason or another, when the other antennas were moved a few years ago, this was omitted for some reason. So yes, this is that tower.
What is this specifically? It's used for streets?
Yes, it's a street department radio system.
There's no other antennas up at the, currently, up at the golf course?
The sewer department one is up there. That was moved at the time that the other ones were moved up to the water tower.
Okay.
There again, the focus was on EMS and police radios at that time to get their antennas moved up on top. So they were omitted from moving them up there.
So the sewer one can't do double duty?
No.
They can't share?
No, they're a different band.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Gary, so once we move that antenna off of that tower, is that tower ours? And do we
Yes.
have to dismantle it, bring it down, and,
Yes,
so that's a
we'll-
future, future anticipated cost to us at some point?
Correct. I believe that it can come down when school is out. And
Okay.
I believe we can probably do that. It's just that we can't put anybody on there, and it can't be
Right.
welded on anymore. We've had professional welders up there, and they refuse to do any work on it.
Okay, all right.
So Freedom Communications is merely removing the antenna and then reinstalling it up at the golf course. The tower itself, which I know is quite rusty,
Yes,
is remaining there.
yes, until we can get it taken down.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve this radio antenna relocation?
Yeah, so moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Olet,
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan,
I vote yes.
and I vote yes. Next, security camera. Gary?
Yes. We're seeking permission to have the Wilkins Company install security cameras for the main building and parking lots. This system to be installed will give us the platform to build on the camera system for the rest of the township. There are monies in the building and grounds capital budget for this. This was gone over by John Fleming from our IT department, and he also recommended this installation. This would give us the lobby area going down the main hallway, and also would give us the grounds around the immediate township building and parking lots. Cost of that system is $18,196. So it would be my recommendation to have the Wilkins install that security system.
Okay, any questions or comments?
The capital budget request is attached.
Very good. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Olet,
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan,
I vote yes.
and I vote yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Wilkins Road Survey and Appraisal. Matt?
Thank you. The Engineering Division has been examining a vacant piece of property along Lower Wilkins Road in order to construct a stormwater improvement. Ann Sokol, the township engineer, has sought prices for a survey and an appraisal on the property, which carries Erie County Tax ID number 332217 3.01. Mr. Chairman, as these are two separate items, I'd like your permission to take them both separately, the appraisal and then the survey.
Okay.
Okay. First, for the appraisal, Ms. Sokol has received a letter of engagement from San Martino, Stout, and Lopresti to perform an appraisal on the property in the form of a written narrative report. The letter states a completion time of 4 weeks from receipt of the signed agreement and has a price of $1,950. It's the recommendation of the township engineer that the board agree to engage San Martino, Stout, and Lopresti to perform the appraisal of said property for the amount of $1,950, and that the chairman be authorized to sign the letter of engagement. This is an unbudgeted amount, and funds would be taken from the contingency capital budget line item for the Planning and Development Department.
Okay.
Mr. Waldinger, were there other quotes for services on this? Was this recommended by a specific entity? How do we come up with San Martino, Stout, and Lopresti?
Mr. Shaw, do you have a?
I believe it's a vendor or a appraiser that's been used in the past and viewed as a professional service. That's why the one quote was obtained. I would note that the property owner of the property has expressed a willingness to sell the parcel to the township, so
Where are you guys located out of? Are they local?
I'm sorry, the property?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the firm.
It's north of Westlake Road on the east side, about halfway down the hill towards Wolf Road.
yeah, it's a vacant wooded parcel.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Mr. Shaw.
It's a vacant wooded parcel.
Is it worth $2,000?
Does that sound high to you? I don't know these things, apparently. Any other questions, Dan?
No.
Okay, do I hear the first, is there a motion to approve this appraisal quote from San Martino, Stoughton, Lopresti in the amount of $1,950?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
I will second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Owlett,
How about yes?
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I'll vote yes as well. And then,
For the
part two?
Part two, for the survey, Ms. Sokol obtained 3 quotes from local surveyors to provide a boundary survey, complete with the drawing of the parcel and field location of the property corners. The quotes received were as follows: David James Laird Associates, $1,465. Henry T. Welka and Associates, $1,350. And Sanford Surveying and Engineering, $895. It is the recommendation of Township Engineer Sokol that the township hire Stanford Surveying and Engineering to provide the survey of Erie County Tax Parcel 332217 3.01 for the price of $895.
Thank you, Matt. Do I hear a motion on this request for the survey Wilkins Road parcel?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Owlett?
How about yes?
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, number 9 on our agenda, proposed ordinance 2020-5, an ordinance of the Township of Millcreek, Erie County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the incurrence of non-electoral debt by the township pursuant to the Local Government Unit Debt Act as amended through the issuance of the township's general obligation note, Series A of 2020, in the principal amount not to exceed $440,000. Mr. Shaw?
Yes, ordinance 2020-5, Township is seeking to finance the purchase of a 2020 Mack Tandem chassis and Vector 2100 plus Jetvac equipment package, as you indicated, in an amount not to exceed $440,000. The term of the financing is projected to be 5 years. The financing is being awarded to First National Bank of Pennsylvania at an effective rate of 1.5%, and the ordinance is necessary to satisfy the requirements of the Local Government Unit Debt Act and authorizes various actions necessary to comply with the requirements of that act in order to obtain the financing.
Okay, and this is associated with the Mack tandem axle chassis
Yes.
and Vector 2100 Jetvac. Okay. It's all coming back to me. Okay, is there a motion, any questions on this proposed ordinance? Do I hear a motion to approve ordinance 2020-5 as stated?
So moved.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Resolution 2020-R57, a resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015-R20 and the Municipal Records Manual to approve proposed disposition of certain township records. Chris Filson, the IT unit of the Police Department, is requesting approval for deletions of videos from the dash cam server dated between September 23rd, 2020 and October 13th of 2020 due to reaching the end of the required retention period. I'll put that in form of a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next up is the Resolution 2020-R58 regarding Shady Knoll letter of credit demand. Mr. Shaw?
Yes, the township currently holds from Reddinger Builders, Inc. as security for the development of Shady Knolls Number 11 subdivision, a letter of credit in the amount of $42,997 issued by Citizens Commercial Banking, issued on behalf of Reddinger Builders, Inc. The current letter of credit will expire on October 1, 2020. The township received notice from the bank that it was not intending to renew the letter of credit. The township reached out to the executor of the estate of the person who owned Reddinger Buildings regarding this non-renewal, and have been informed by the executor that he does not intend to renew the letter of credit. As a result, in accordance with Township Code and the development agreements with Reddinger Builders, Inc., before you is a resolution, 2020-R58, authorizing the township to draw upon the letter of credit in its full amount to enable the township to complete the work that needs to be done at the development. The resolution declares Reddinger Builders, Inc.'s in default of its developers agreement for failing to maintain that security and failing to complete the development of improvements. The resolution authorizes the actions needed to obtain the funds from the bank, issuing the letter of credit, and to use those funds to complete the improvements. It authorizes the chairman to sign the site draft to be submitted to the bank in accordance with the terms of the letter of credit. This is the first time that this has had to happen in terms of these types of things. I believe the owner of Reddinger Homes passed away a number of years ago, and I think we've had to do this once before with respect to a letter of credit in a development that he had. The executor simply is just letting them, essentially letting us, draw on that letter of credit to finish the work, because they're not planning on doing so.
Thank you, sir.
I'm curious what kind of work hasn't been completed yet.
Well, there are issues with the stormwater management pond. It was not built completely to the plans to meet our ordinance. At the time of their last letter of credit review, the warranty period for the paving, the wearing course of the paving, had not expired at that time. We believe it has now, but they've not asked for a recalculation of their bond. There is one stop sign missing at least, and then we would check on the monumentation and any other issue to make sure that they were taken care of before the bond was released.
Matt, I see there's a letter from the executor of his estate. It references Millfair Heights subdivision as well.
Yes, that's the subdivision that Attorney Shaw was speaking about earlier. That happened previously, I believe, in 2016. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's already been resolved, or,
Yeah, I believe we already drew on that letter of credit.
That's
back at that
correct.
time.
okay. Do I hear a motion to approve Resolution 2020-R58 as stated?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. CDBG CARES Act Administration Agreement with the County of Erie. Matt?
Yes, thank you. This is an agreement between the township and the County of Erie for the Erie County Department of Planning and Community Development to administer Millcreek's 2020 Housing and Urban Development, Community Development Block Grant, COVID program. As you're aware, the township received funds from the first phase of the CARES Act to distribute through the Community Development Block Grant Program. We've been working with Erie County to distribute those funds. The agreement before you is very similar to the agreement that we have with the county that we enter into every year to manage our normal CDBG funds. This is just a separate contract solely for the CARES Act funds. As part of managing these funds, the county would be reimbursed $7,827, and that money would come from our disbursement from HUD. It would not come from the general fund. So at this point, I would recommend approval of this agreement with Erie County.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions or comments on this?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement.
I'll second.
Mr. Owlett?
How about yes?
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. We have a sidewalk deferral request for 3104 West 38th Street. Nicholas Giuliano, developer. Matt?
Thank you. Yes, as you mentioned, Nicholas Giuliano, the developer building a new home at 3104 West 38th Street, has requested a sidewalk deferral from the township. They have submitted the proper paperwork and signed an agreement deferring until a later time the sidewalk. This is an area of 38th Street. This is the north side of 38th. It actually is an area where a previous home that was not properly maintained was demolished, and so they're going to build a new home at that site. There are no sidewalks in that immediate area, so at this time I would recommend approval of the sidewalk deferral.
Mr. Mulder, my question is, there's a potential developer.
I'm sorry, where?
On the agenda request is the potential developer for, so is there development going, I guess my question is, aren't these usually approved once a development plan's been submitted? Is this kind of early for us to grant a sidewalk deferral before development started?
I don't see.
It says the message from MAPPA is dated, submitted 9/11.
Oh, the potential,
The potential developer of,
I'm sorry, I get it. I was looking at the agenda. Mr. Giuliano has a contract to purchase the property from the owner, the estate of the person that lived there before. So he's been going through trying to get his permitting and everything ahead of time before he finalizes the purchase.
Do I hear a motion to approve this sidewalk deferral request for 3104 West 38th?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second to that?
yeah, I'll second.
Okay, sir. Mr. Owlett?
How about yes?
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I'll vote yes. We have a, excuse me, stormwater management plan and maintenance request, Dollar Tree, FIDC 106 LLC developer. Matt?
Yes, thank you. As you mentioned, the developer is FIDC 106 LLC. This is for the Dollar Tree store on West Ridge Road that the land development was previously approved. They are seeking approval of their stormwater management plan, and then they have also signed a stormwater maintenance agreement with the township. The plan has been reviewed by GPI, our third-party engineering firm, and does meet the township's stormwater requirements. They have signed a proper township stormwater maintenance form. So at this time, I would recommend that the board approve the stormwater management plan and approve the stormwater maintenance agreement for the Dollar Tree on West Ridge Road.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the stormwater management plan and accompanying maintenance request from Dollar Tree?
I'll make a motion to approve the plan and maintenance agreement.
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next up on our agenda is BAI agreement to provide Form 1095-C. Mr. Zakshewski?
Yes. Every year, the township is required, under the ACA, the township's required to provide a listing of all individuals that had health insurance coverage in the current year. Because the number of dependents and all the social security numbers and everything involved, BAI has this information because they are the ones that actually go about enrolling our employees and their dependents in our plan. Plus two, there's also a variety of check boxes that are required in order to complete the filing. And they are certainly more knowledgeable of how you properly complete the forms for filing. And they've done this for the past several years. The price is not going up from last year, at least in terms of the per unit cost, and the set fee, I think it's $250 plus so much per form, $550 per form. It's my recommendation that we engage them once again to produce this document for IRS filing, and I guess that's it. Unless there's questions.
You said the cost, Mark, was,
$250 is a $250 set fee plus $5. It's on page 3.
okay, I see it now, yep.
Yeah, it's $250. We've only got one tax ID, so it's $250 plus $550 per form, and that will be dependent upon the number of employees. It might be slightly higher, slightly less than last year, depending on how many people were here or not here, one year versus the other.
Okay, but it's probably fairly consistent from year to year, the number.
Pretty much so, yes.
Okay. Any other questions on this agreement form? Is there a motion to approve the BAI agreement for the 1095-C?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next on our agenda, we have PA DEP Section 904 Performance Grant Application. Dan?
Thank you. Request from Jessica Stutzman from Recycling. It's time to apply for the next round of grants for the DEP 904. So as a result, the Recycling Department is recommending that we apply for $128,566.40 from the PA DEP 904 Performance Grant to put back into programming, education, and events, and to benefit the township residents and businesses. This is will be done electronically this year when we file for that. So I guess this is a request for permission to go ahead and apply for that grant for this time period. I'll do that in the form of a motion.
Okay. Do I hear a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Communications? Mr. Zakshewski, anything further?
One thing real briefly, we
Yes,
received from the state of Pennsylvania, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, a little over $310,000 for the Fireman's Relief Fund. This is a pass-through grant that comes from insurance money, a tax on insurance policies, written by foreign, what they mean out-of-state insurance companies. This amount is similar to what we received last year, slightly higher, and I am in the process of having the funds distributed to the relief organizations for the 4 fire departments located solely within the township. And they each get an equal share in the money. The only thing I'm waiting for right now is a contact information for the treasurer for Bell Valley. But I am going ahead and having the checks produced on the 29th to pass those funds out to the departments, but Bell Valley won't get theirs until I get that last bit of information. There's a form that has to be filed with the state.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, looks like we have some hiring requests. The first one we'll address is the Parks and Recreation request
Okay.
from Director Ashley Marsteller for seasonal maintenance. Mr. Alette?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Parks and Rec is seeking approval for the transfer of a sewer department seasonal maintenance employee to the Parks Department. Employee would continue to work in his seasonal maintenance duties, including mowing, trimming, mulching, and various other duties. This will be at the same pay rate we're currently working at. There's some background checks that have to be done and clearances required to be a Parks and Rec employee, so that person is in the process of doing that right now. And it's recommended to approve Nick Langford be transferred to the Parks and Rec Department for the completion of the seasonal park maintenance period for this year. I'll do that in the form of a motion.
Okay, it looks like it's at the rate of $10 an hour, which is his, the rate that he's earning it with the sewer department.
Right.
Same rate, okay. All right, do I hear a second to this seasonal maintenance request?
Mr. Snyder, is Mr. Wells aware of this transfer, and is he comfortable losing an employee?
He is. Yes, it's discussed.
I'll second.
Mr. Alette?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next up we have another request. It's from Diane Lyons in the administration office. Approval to fill a vacancy in our police dispatch department. This vacancy is due to a resignation. She's requesting approval to fill a full-time vacancy in police dispatch.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I hear a second to that?
I'm going to take an opportunity to make my annual stump to you guys.
Does this have to do with dispatch by chance?
It does. I just want to reiterate that we are the only municipality in Erie County, and I believe the only municipality in the Northwest region of Pennsylvania that has their own dispatch unit. For our EIP, it costs the township about $750,000 a year for a duplicative service that could be transferred to the Erie County Planning, or the Erie County Dispatch Center. So I am opposed to filling the position. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your input. I'll second that request from Mr. Alette. Mr. Alette, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
I vote no.
And I vote yes. Okay, next up is another request from Diane Lyons from administration for a new hire sewer maintenance.
We should definitely keep the sewer bureau, though.
Oh, I agree.
So
Definitely. This is a recommendation to hire Eric Pham. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
I think so.
Pham. Sewer maintenance labor, $20.02 an hour. Start date October 13th of 2020. Eric comes to us with 4 years' experience in sewer maintenance and equipment operation from the town of Sellersburg, Indiana, and the city of Jeffersonville, Indiana. He does have a Class B CDL with tanker endorsement.
Make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Mr. Arlett?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. We held executive sessions on September 10th and 17th of this year. Mr. Shaw, any further?
Nothing further here.
Citizens to be heard. Oh, it appears that the citizens we had maybe had other obligations this evening and chose to depart for the night. Doesn't appear there's any other citizens to be heard. With that, I will call for an adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
We are adjourned at 7:56.